So we have a guy on the team called Devin Kulani who is basically a copywriting beast. So he came up with this one line which we had to put. And see, the thing is, as a comms guy, I also want to make sure that we're not doing something that could be too
Yeah,
over
over
the
the
top.
board. Yeah.
But there was one line I just said, we have to do this, which was what his line was: keep the Kohinoor, we have Cosmium. And like internally we're debating whether we should not. I'm like, no, we should. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens, right?
Hello and welcome to the third episode of the gaming podcast by Underdog. Today we have a very dear friend Rishi Alwani from Super Gaming. Rishi, welcome to the podcast. And how's life at Super Gaming, man?
First off, thanks for having me here, Vaibhav. Big fan of what you've been doing for the years, and I'm fortunate to have had you on one of my shows back in the day at NDTV, and I'm glad I could be here to help you out best I can. But yeah, life at Super Gaming is eventful. We have a lot going on. We have I mean, as you can see in the background, our upcoming battle royale Indus that's coming up. We have a couple of other projects I can't just talk about right now, but there's a lot going on, so it's quite hectic. My day job there is running communications. So any bit of quote, any interview, any piece of content that usually goes out, either I'm making it or I work with the team to make it look good, make it look better. Particularly when it goes to the media and content creators. Our own channels is run by a different team, by our by our pretty kick-ass marketing team who are way more experienced and cool at their job than they have any right being.
Yeah,
So that's what I do. I handle comms at
yeah. I've been seeing a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff about Indus recently. Like it's all over the place on the social media. And I yesterday or today itself, I saw a post on LinkedIn about how you guys actually went out to the GDC. I saw some posters out there on the bus stops and the road.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. We've done so. The objective there is to let the world know, right, that we're building something cool and we're trying to get awareness for it. Now, the posters and the hoardings we put up there were specifically selected to be around in and around GDC. And the thought process behind them was that, look, you're going to have a lot of people, international folks, not native to the US, going through those areas.
Yeah,
We want to raise awareness somehow on ground. That's
a-
the thought process.
absolutely.
So what had happened was, for that there were like three of us or four of us who came up with the slogans for each of the posters. Some of them were so basically tests we were running, like WTF GDC. That WTF stands for Weapon Training Facility.
Oh,
We
really?
knew people, yeah, we knew people wouldn't get it, but we said let's try it and see the reaction, right? The other things were a little more straightforward, like "Made in India for the World" or "A Brave New World Made in India." Those slogans were made because we knew that this is an audience that may not be exposed to the game. So let's give them a taste of what to see with some really good artwork and simple lines that get the message across. This wasn't the first time we've done this. We did this also in London on Republic Day. So on Republic Day, we took hoardings on high-profile locations in London, digital hoardings on high-profile locations in London, like Canary Wharf and East India Road and a bunch of places there. And we were a little more bold in our copy. So we have a guy on the team called Devin Kulani, who is basically a copywriting beast. So he came up with this one line which we had to put. And see, the thing is, as a comms guy, I also want to make sure that we're not doing something that could be too
Yeah,
over
over
the
the
top.
board. Yeah.
But there was one line I just said, we have to do this, which was what? His line was, keep the Kohinoor, we have Cosmo. And like internally we're debating whether we should not. I'm like, no, we should. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens, right? It actually worked out pretty well. And the reason why we went with that is also from a gameplay perspective, right? Everyone knows battle royale mechanic, what battle royale mechanics are, be the last person standing.
Yeah.
But in our game, we have another mechanic which also lets you win, which is over a period of time, as the battle wears on, there'll be this mystical object known as Cosmium that manifests itself. If
Hmm.
you're able to get to it and hold it, you can win by default.
Okay.
So the thing is, we've been doing these things to build awareness
Right.
because what we've noticed and what we've seen is that unless you're able to get or have a community around you in the early days, it's tough because see, building a battle royale, building a game with a heavy live ops component doesn't really happen if you don't have concurrency, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you can't get concurrency if you don't have a community behind you.
Right.
So the objective in all this is to build a community, get people interested, get people to care, and hopefully that translates to a robust, bustling community to make games people play for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, this year I couldn't go to GDC, but I
Mhm.
saw that, and I also remember you guys did something really different in Comic Con at Bangalore.
Oh yeah, so Bangalore Comic Con was an interesting one. We had our second community playtest.
Yeah,
And it was our biggest community playtest. We had, I think, a grand total. I mean, I think I could be wrong, but close to 1,000 people played the game in those 2 days. For us, it was kind of important because we wanted to make sure that whatever we were doing was in lockstep with what people expect. But
yeah,
at the same time, some of our ideas are seen and are visible, right? So be it mechanics, be it traversal, be it characters, be it what people's thoughts are on Indo-futurism. These are the kind of things we take to playtests and we try to get feedback on. It was our second playtest. Our first was in our office in Pune in August. Second was at Bangalore Comic Con, where we were lucky and fortunate to have the booth that was right in front. So whoever walked in, we basically got them to check it out. We were also fortunate because we managed to get Sid from S02 and his friends to come check it out. So that was a good win.
right.
Um, and then we did our third playtest most recently in Surat, and that was important from a strategic point of view because, uh, I mean, firstly, the fastest growing city in the country is Surat, and secondly, that's where we noticed the most hardcore battle royale players are. So we were like, okay, let's see what they think, right? How we can validate a few things that matter. So for us, it's been something we've been doing because it also boils down to the same reason why we do hoardings in London, hoardings in the US, is because we need to make sure that we've built awareness and we have a steady audience that's there.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. No, because see, like a couple of years back, it was only Facebook where developers or the companies, who are making games used to put out a lot of content during the development phase. And I think that was the only thing that we were from India, the developers were also trying to replicate in India. But since the introduction, or let's say not the introduction, but the surge of the content on YouTube that came in from India, right? I think it's very much important for every company or developer to start these kind of community building activities well before the game is out. At this stage, I feel, and that is where I think these things are very, very important for anybody who is making games.
Uh, I think it also matters on the kind of game you're making.
Yeah,
Like in a lot for our case, because there's a strong focus on a storyline, there's a strong focus on the scale, right, of Battle Royale. It made a lot of sense to take this direction. If we were making something like, let's say, a match three game, or
yeah,
if we're making something which is a little like a hyper casual title, we take a different approach. I think it also matters from that perspective. Plus, there's the other way of looking at it also depends on what the objectives are from a company level, right? because in our case, because we're looking to expand, because we're looking to grow, we need to have that presence.
Right.
It goes without saying. And it's one of the reasons why we've taken a very content-heavy, conversational approach to our marketing. In a way, you could say marketing is live ops before live ops of the game actually launching anyway. But that's the approach, right? The thing is, we want to make sure there's enough out there for people to care about, and that there's enough feedback that's generated that allows us to build better.
Right.
So the other part of it is like we're pretty heavy on Discord as well. We're pretty heavy on Twitter as well, where we're using every medium to get the word out, to get feedback, to incorporate and have better campaigns. And that's why, right? Like, so one sliver of what you end up seeing is yes, what's on LinkedIn, what's on YouTube, but there's a lot more that happens on Twitter. There's a lot more that happens on LinkedIn, Twitter, on our Discord as well,
Yeah.
and even Instagram. And all of it is done because for us, it's a question of one is building the awareness, second is building the momentum. And for us, like, it's also a question of, see, from a business perspective, we believe India is $1 billion market for battle royale.
True.
India alone, before we consider the rest of the world. So, and we do believe that, look, people don't just play one battle royale; they play multiple games.
Yeah.
Right? So our objective is to be one of those games.
Correct.
If not the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Indus is like highly anticipated in India, right? And it's a battle royale. Can you just give me some pointers on what are you guys doing different in terms of standing out in this category of battle royale games?
So there are kind of three ways we stand out. First is the fact that we have a bigger focus on story and narrative through Indo-futurism. So for us, Indo-futurism was a launching pad for everything in this game, right? And for that, how we thought about it was, what if the Indus Valley civilization didn't go extinct, but managed to make it to the space age? That was the basic thought in the launch pad. And when we thought about that, it was very easy then to contextualize what the game world would be, which map you're on, who the characters are, and things fall into place a little more organically once we had that direction. So one thing is, yes, there's a focus on world building and narrative. Second reason, and I explained this also a little earlier, was Cosmium. Our win conditions are different. Yes, you can win by being the last man standing, but you also have Cosmium as a part of it. And the third way, which we're trying to be different, is we want to make sure that while, yes, you have this brand new, cool looking aesthetic to shoot people in the face in, you also have some real life aspects to it, right?
Yeah.
So for example, we partnered with Hina Sidhu, who was ranked #1 in world pistol shooting.
Okay.
And she represented India at the Olympics as well for pistol shooting.
Yeah.
We have her in the game as a character.
I saw that. Yeah.
And her backstory becomes super important to some of the events that happen in the game as well. You can play as her, which is really cool. And the thought process behind that was, you want to bring people in who aren't your typical, Bollywood celebrities of sorts, but rather people who have achieved stuff. The people who have achieved stuff, the people who have gone through the trials and hardships of being someone.
Yeah,
being
basically the real heroes, not the real heroes.
Pretty much. That's a great way of putting it. And for us, which is why, so those are three ways we stand out.
Yeah.
And aside from that, a lot of it, and I think that, and if I even think about it from a development perspective, no Indian or international studio is actually going to have their developers come to you, shake your hand, make you play a game at a playtest and say, hey, what do you think you like or didn't like? That's something we're in a unique advantage of being able to do.
Right.
Because we're nimble, because we're agile, because we've got a small team, relatively small team. We're able to do that. We're able to be on ground and get that feedback to, make sure that for us, it's always been a question of we'd rather have 1,000 people who love us than 1 million people who just know of us.
Right.
So that's the other difference at this stage.
And you recently also signed Scout, right?
No, we didn't sign anything with Scout. We have a deal with Techno Gamers.
Okay.
Techno Gamers, but that's...
Oh, sorry. Not Scout.
No
Techno Gamer, yeah.
So Techno Gamers is a YouTuber with 30 million subs. His name's Ujjwal Chaurasia. He's working with us on a yet-to-be-announced game that's not Indus.
Yeah.
Which I cannot talk about right now because I'll have Office Ninja slaughter me if I do. But we're working with him on another project.
Awesome. How big is your team right now?
We're around 150 people.
And it's a mix of, do you have any people, talent outside India also working on this one?
No, Indus is completely made here. I mean, there's a, let's put it this way. Part of the job as comms is to make sure we're legit. And there is no way I could use a line made in India for the world if it wasn't made here. Yeah, otherwise I'd use something like rooted in India or something. But the
Hmm.
reason we went with this is because it's, yeah, we take that really seriously. And more than me, Robbie takes it super seriously as well as CEO. So that's not something we mess with.
Got it. Got it. The moment you mentioned the plot line, if the Indus Valley would have survived, right, dude, it gave me goosebumps because I'm a huge history buff, and I try to go into that zone literally. If I go to a museum, it's very difficult to bring me out of the museum. And this plot is like very exciting. I haven't, like, I didn't hear about this until you told me about it, because I was just assuming that it's just Indus is just a name that you guys used it. But now that I know that there is a great story behind it, I'm pretty excited, man.
I mean, yeah, because a lot of what we do has actual purpose. We do, as particularly on the lore side of things. There are like, so I help write some of it. Most of it is done by another guy called Ankush Nishad. So I help out on that when I can, polish stuff, make it look a little better, more presentable. So we're pretty serious about making sure whatever we put there has intent and has meaning. So yeah, it's actually so Indus is the planet which and you're a myth walker. A myth walker is, let's just say, a hired gun, an adventurer, a blank slate, right? Someone who can just and your job is to go around planet Indus. But on Indus, you'll find a floating island known as Virlo. That name also has been chosen with a very specific reason, right? And while your one of your objectives there is you're on that planet for this not so legitimate organization known as Coven,
Okay.
and you're there to collect cosmium. You're there to collect cosmium, which manifests itself, and cosmium is kind of like the it's something this galaxy's been after, and it was rumored to never be available, but now it's found on Velo, right? And Coven has a head start on that.
Okay.
And when you end up on Indus, when you end up on Vlog, you notice that all the environments are pristine. Hey, where are the people if everything's so pristine? What's been going on, right?
Right.
So there's a mystery to unravel as you keep playing and as you keep going through. And the objective is to ensure that there's a reason to keep coming back.
Okay.
And a lot of it also has been inspired by Afrofuturism and Black Panther and how they went about it as well. Where for us, it's about showing a future. In a way, it's about showing a future India in a positive light, and in a way, that's a little more cool than what we see from standard sci-fi in India today, because we find that kind of cringe. So we're like, okay, let's try doing something a little different and a little better.
Awesome. Awesome. uh how far are you in the development? When is it releasing?
So now I think we're in alpha, and we're playing it regularly. We're having YouTubers come in every week. We have esports teams coming in and check it out and give us feedback every week. Just recently, we had two of our biggest supporters for the longest time, Games Gossip India and Lazy Assassin, come to our studio and check it out.
Yeah.
So we're at that stage where we're comfortable showing it off, but I still think we have ways to go before it's a well polished, killer experience that we want to get. But we're on our way there.
But this year or next year?
Cannot confirm or deny anything at this stage.
Okay, okay, awesome. But I'm really excited about it, man. Honestly. But this is like coming on mobile first or PC. How is it going to?
So we're looking at mobile first, Android, iOS, followed by PC and console down the line.
Okay, okay.
I'm just glad to be on the show and been following what you've been doing for the longest time. So yeah, for more on Indus, do check us out on Twitter at Indus Game. And for more on cool insights into the games business here, please keep following Vaibhav. He is awesome.
Thanks, man. But before we go, I just wanted to ask you something.
Mhm.
Like apart from what is happening at Super Gaming and Indus, right?
Mhm.
I know Rishi for a long time now, and uh, how is it possible for a person to have information about everything? Um, what do you exactly do, Rishi? How do you have information about everyone every time that we speak to you.
So, I mean, in another life, I used to be in journalism,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's where you learn. You learn that 90% of your stories come from talking to people. So I spend a lot of time talking to people. I spend a lot of time researching stuff in my free time. Now I just do it for fun. And that's how you come to know what's happening, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, if I just wanted information I could find off Wikipedia, I do that. But I spend a lot of my waking hours talking to people, getting a lay of the land, trying to understand what's going on. Because there's a lot happening on ground that we're not aware of even right now, right?
yeah,
So, for example, let's just say on the console side of things, because that's like my pet project. Because my first job was in console was related to console games and console distribution. So like even right now, right? When I talk to people at the store level, you come to know, hey, there are failure rates in a lot of 25 for PS5s fail.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And you hear it from three different people. Okay, that's something you might want to let the world know. So you put out a tweet. Or you hear something about, let's say, availability on, let's say, Harry Potter and how it's not going to be available, or basically that there's going to be a restock soon. You let people know. So a lot of it just goes from talking to people and making those connections at a ground level. So that's all I do. I just talk to as many people as I can, get as much information as I can, and help out best I can. Uh, but that's basically a side effect of being on the journalism side, right? Because when you've been there long enough, you realize that the best stories are what you get from speaking.
yeah. I remember you like I remember talking to you once, and you mentioned this thing that your job is all about information, um, where there is a lot of trust and a lot of credibility that goes with the information. So you give information, you take information, but there is always this credibility that is tagged along this, and that is why people trust you while they tell you things.
I mean, it works both ways, right? I also have to trust them, and in my case, it's a little easier because if someone tells me something, I always have to verify it, right? So I remember back in the day at IGN, we had got the scoop that BGMI was sending data to China
Yeah,
when it just came back. And I was shocked. I'm like, how is this even possible? So the guy who sent it to me, he's like, this is how I did it. Please replicate and see. I was able to replicate it. I'm
yeah,
like, oh no. So obviously, first thing you do, you reach out to Craftsman and tell them, hey guys, your game has a problem.
yeah,
It's another story. They don't check their email or don't respond, but fine. I did what I had to do, and then you publish the story because that's the next part of it. It's gonna anger a lot of people, but you gotta do it because it becomes a national security thing. It becomes another issue, so you better just publish and move on. So a lot of it requires verification as well, right? Trust is one part, but there's also verification as well. You can't just put anything out there without having a very clear idea that it's legit or not, because people will call you out on it. Back in the day, I remember when the Xbox One S was a thing, I was told from very reliable sources that hey, it's going to be out in India on a certain day and date. I published. Everyone was wrong, my source included.
yeah,
So you want to avoid those kind of situations because at the end of the day, the objective is to let people know there might be just like three people who care, but those are the three people who will come after you if you're wrong. So it's a balancing act and it's something you end up learning over the years.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Like I personally was a very shy guy in the initial years, but few people that I've seen and I learned um, and tried networking with a lot of people is one of them is you, honestly, because this was back in 2015 when we met at PGC
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bangalore.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun event. A fun event because I got to see a lot of games on ground. In fact, that's where I saw stuff from Super for the first time. They had mask unplayable. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what is this?
Maskan was
This is
crazy, man.
interesting. Someone trying to do Counter Strike before it was cool.
Yeah,
So, but that was a fun event. I just wish we had more. I mean, IGDC is great, but we should also have more of those, more events through the year. Because I think the best way for the industry to grow is if we're all, there being able to talk to each other.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. All the best for the game. We're super excited for this. But just before we leave, to the audience, like I said, right, you're one of those guys who I learned, how to really network with people and why is it important, to literally um, upscale, in every aspect of your business, right? So Just before we go, just let people know why networking is kind of important.
Uh, I think it's a question of, I think it's not just networking. One part is, yes, networking is crucial to any line of work because, see, if you wherever you want to get to in life, it's not just going to be, hey, there's a job listing on LinkedIn or there's going to be someone who tweets that they're hiring. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's just talking to people. And uh, the biggest barrier everyone has is they feel apprehensive and they feel shy. And I can't blame them. But when you understand and when you realize that everyone has a mutual benefit,
Mm,
right? That if you're talking to someone, you're not talking to them and it's not just a one-way street.
correct.
Then it becomes a lot easier to get things done, right?
Yeah.
Once you pass that barrier and you become a little shameless, it becomes easy. See, I learned the hard way because when you're running when you're running the game section at NDTV, you have no choice. You pick up the phone whether you like it or not, figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, the point is once you're able to get out of your shell and realize that when you're talking to someone, it's not just for your benefit, it's for theirs, right? It
Yeah.
becomes easier to make those connections and get moving. And the second part of it is I look at it from broader perspective, it's just a question of being able to get your hands dirty.
Hmm.
Uh, to be honest, I've never run communications in my life before this job. And the reason why I'm able to do a pretty decent job of it is because I'm willing to get my hands dirty, willing to apply myself, and try to work with the right people to get the job done.
Right.
Until a year and a half ago, there wasn't much happening from super gaming in terms of comms, in terms of interviews, in terms of media outreach. But all that is changing, right?
Yeah.
So it's a question. Basically you kind of need it if you really want to go to the next level, because the thing is, unless you're that one in a million type who's really really good at a super niche thing that no one else can do, it's going to be very tough
Yeah.
to get your next break. So it's a question of evening the odds, and I think it's one of those things you need to do to even the odds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Rishi. Thank you for your time, man. It was a great conversation. All the best again for Indus. I hope we catch up soon, man.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vaibhav, for having me.
Yeah. Bye bye.